So hi guys. Um, this is my Premier League review while we do the international break. Just gonna have a look at the table and see what's kind of remaining as we basically head into the last seven um, fixtures. Obviously, some teams have got game in hands. First of all, just good shout out to England for their performance. 5-0 victory over the Czech Republic. Impressive. I think England have got a lot of young blood coming through. Harry Kane. He's only 25, but he's proven. I think he's proven, and he's the kind of player that if he was to go to a better team, say Real Madrid, he'd only become better and maybe would get up there with elite status because I do think he's a world class player. We've got Sterling, who's definitely world class now. Jordan Sancho in Dortmund. If Ross Barkley with Hazard leaving, I know they've signed Pulisic, but he's probably going to get more opportunity. So it'll be if he can kind of break into that Chelsea team more and get to that level, just that's amazing. And then obviously Dele Alli, world class, and then in that defensive midfielder, just for a bit of experience using Henderson. But you've got Declan Rice there. At right back, you've got Walker, Trent, and the Crystal Palace player. Left back, we've got Chilwell, Shaw, and centre back. If Stones can get more games from Man City, Phil Jones, Smalling, all those kind of guys. So, and obviously goalkeeper Pickford hasn't been that great, but obviously they want a guy that can shot stop and play with his feet. So, yeah, interesting times for England. But so looking at the Premier League table. So, start at the bottom and then head up to the top. So, at the bottom, we can see, basically Huddersfield and Fulham are basically down. Fulham haven't won in a long time. Very poor from Fulham. They spent about 100 million on some quality players like Andre Schürrle used to play for Chelsea. And Siri, the Liverpool linked with him actually, defensive midfield. I think they bought him for like 30 million. So that's very poor for them. So they've got an owner that's got a lot of money. So hopefully the implications won't be that bad for them. But yeah, very poor. And Huddersfield, didn't spend a lot of money. They might become like a yo-yo team, like a West Brom were back in the day. Don't spend a lot of money, go down, save money, buy players, and come back up. But just they just haven't had the quality. Um, so really, it's interesting. Who gets relegated. At the moment it's between Cardiff, Burnley, Southampton, and let's say Brighton and Crystal Palace in there. Cardiff, they've been down there for a long time. Obviously, we know what happened with their player that died in the plane crash. Signed a striker. They weren't really scoring goals, and they needed someone to score goals. They signed two strikers. Um, he obviously he died in the plane crash, but they had a little bit of inspiration. Got a couple wins in a row. Um, from that, and then obviously they've gone like 3 games without winning. Then they won their last game. So home form is going to be crucial for Cardiff City, and they've got some key home matches coming up, and they just have to win. They've got to win their home matches and with any chance of staying up. Burnley are very poor. Burnley, and we're going to talk about this later when we get to the looking the bit higher up in the table. But Burnley, they were in the Europa League, and they've had a Europa League hangover all season. It abated for a few games, and it looked like they were going to finally get out of that hangover and go on a run when they got a few back-to-back victories. But it's come back again, and like I said, they've lost their last 4 games, so they're very much in there. And they've got some tough fixtures coming up. Burnley, they've got some tough games, some top teams coming up. So they really, they're in a relegation battle. And I think it's going to do. And teams like Burnley, the problem with them is when you don't know you're in a relegation battle and you get sunk in, and it's too late. That's when you're a problem. So I think the manager in this international break needs to be telling them we're in a relegation battle and we need to get out of this, because I think a few games ago they probably didn't think so when they were on their run, and now look at them. So Southampton, obviously they've known they've been in a relegation battle. They changed their manager. Mark Hughes got sacked earlier in the season. Um, they brought in this guy. He's had some good, impressive results, and then it's kind of been a bit stop-start for them. They've won, they've lost, but they've got some good games, some home games coming up. So I think, and obviously they've got a game in hand on Burnley, so they will be looking at that, and thinking, we can get out of this. ironically, their next game is against Brighton, and that's going to be a massive game for Brighton. You know, Brighton have got two games in hand. You know, they've had a nice run in the FA Cup, got some nice fixtures in the FA Cup, and now they've got a semi-final clash with Man City at Wembley. And sometimes when it happens, you know, if you're not really going to do nothing in the league, it's always nice to think, oh, you know, let's go to that cup run. And you know, had they been on the other side of the draw, they would have, you know, I think it's Wolves, and I forgot the other team that's there. But had they been in the other side of the draw, potentially they will be looking at a final date. But obviously, Man City is a bit of a tough one for them. So I'm sure they'll enjoy their day out in Wembley. But they've got a big game against Southampton coming up next at home. Brighton, they tend to do put it out the bag. Look, they've won the last two games, so they will be looking for 3 points. And if they kind of get 3 points, they'll kind of probably be relatively safe. Obviously, they'll probably need another win, but at least they can kind of look forward and put more resources into, you know, causing a big upset against Man City. And I put Crystal Palace in there. I don't think Crystal Palace they've had a little blip. They've got Huddersfield next, so obviously that's a perfect opportunity for them to get 3 points at home and kind of get out of that. Saha was injured in the FA Cup, so you know, I'm not sure his status, but if he can come back and they can get players back from international break, you know, they will be looking to kind of um, you know, beat Huddersfield and really relatively they'll be safe and maybe try and consolidate a mid-table position. So we go up a bit on the table, and I will take Leicester City away from that. So let me take Leicester City away. You know, if you look at Newcastle, Bournemouth, and Everton, kind of teams that have really had very inconsistent seasons with different expectations. You know, Newcastle didn't spend a lot of money at the start of the season. You know, Ashley's trying to sell the club. Got a great manager in Benitez, but they were really poor at the start of the season. But you know, over the last few games, they've really had some great results. I think they've won like 4 in a row at home, so they are basically safe now. Maybe just one more win, and I guess depending on their fixtures will be their kind of ambition for the season. But for them to stay up, considering you know where they were, it's a great result. And you know it's probably going to be a case of, you know, we've stayed up now. What's happening next season? Benitez will say, you know, Ashley, are you staying or are you going? I know you gave me some money in January. You know, they only just broke their record club fee from Shearer days, Alan Shearer days, of 50 million for this Alaron guy for 20 million. And if you think about the money that's getting spent on football, 20 million is kind of, you know, Bournemouth bought Solanke 15 million, so that just says a lot. So he'll want to know the ambitions for next season, and that's really, I think, where they're at. Bournemouth, again, they've been a bit inconsistent too. You know, they haven't really, um, you know, they've had some good victories at home. You know, they beat Chelsea 4-0, poor away. But they only won one away match, which was against Huddersfield, who were bottom of the league. So obviously that's where their problem lies. But they've got some good English talent. You know, with Wilson, Solanke, King, obviously Ibe. You know, they've got some good talent in that team, and Ake in defence. So you know, they'll want to push on and try and, you know, maybe consolidate a top 10 position. And where does that ambition go from there for next season? Because they're not going to get relegated. Because Eddie Howe, he's been there forever, so if he stays, he'll probably want to push on next season and try and get something. Everton, you know, they've really been poor. I think a lot of high expectations for Everton this season. They spent a lot of money, and it just hasn't really worked out for them. You know, a lot of money. You know, they've been chasing their manager Silva. They chased him from Watford when they tapped him up, and they finally got him, and he just, you know, he hasn't really. You know, Watford hired him, so that just says everything. So, you know, they got a good win against Chelsea in the last match, so maybe they'll try and use that as confidence to then push on. But I don't really see them doing much but consolidating. But they're still, you know, it's still close. So let me not rule them out. Let me not rule Bournemouth to Wolves out. But I would think, you know, they're just consolidating. So if you look at Leicester, West Ham, Watford, and Wolves, you know, because of the Man City won the Carabao Cup, and well, they're likely to win the FA Cup, considering who's left. It's Watford, the other team actually, so that's going to be an interesting catch. So um, I don't believe if Man City win it and you're a runner up, you get in Europa League. But in any case, it's kind of ironic. So um, that seventh spot might be in Europa League, and it might not necessarily be a good thing because Burnley, if you can see, they got in the Europa League last season, and they didn't even, because you have to start right at the start when you come seventh. So they didn't even get to the actual proper Europa League. They got knocked out in the qualifiers by, I think, Olympiacos. So um, they've had a hangover all season. So how much would the team really want to get in Europa League? I don't know. But Watford and Wolves and West Ham, they've got some, and Leicester as well. Leicester been in the Champions League. They've got some good international players that I'm sure would want to be in there. So Leicester with the new manager Rodgers, they've won their last two games in a row. They were unlucky to lose to Watford in his first match. So they'll be looking to kind of push on. They've got that new manager momentum, trying to impress the manager. So they'll just be looking to push on and maybe try and squeeze into that seventh spot. With Wolves and Watford might be distracted because they've got an FA Cup tie against each other. West Ham, they've had their mixed season. They've got high expectations at the start of the season. They spend a bit of money. They've got a good team, new manager, and but they've come along. But as you can see, look, win, lose, win, lose, win. That's kind of sums up West Ham. They're just so inconsistent. They'll kind of be looking for, well, their last game 4-3. Look from 3-1 down against the bottom teams. That says everything about them. They really need to, they'll be probably looking for a little bit of consistency going forward to see if they can just kind of push into that top seven, get Europa League, and then kind of attract those bigger players. Watford and Wolves, good season for both. We'll start with Watford. Watford generally have a good season, then they kind of tail off around January when they're safe and there's no ambition. But this season they've kept it up. They lost their last game, but look, they're in eighth position. They're one point away from the Europa League. So they've really kept it up this season, and not really tailed off and gone on their mid-season holiday like they normally do. And obviously they're in the FA Cup, so that will probably be their attention now because they've got Wolves. So they've got a date at Wembley and they're one away from the final. And anything can happen in a one-off game. We saw I think Wigan beat Man City in the FA Cup. So anything can happen. So I'm sure that they just want to get to the final. And Wolves have kind of had an amazing season. Wolves are a promoted team. So if they got promoted and they've just had an amazing season. They've got some players that, I knew about Wolves when they beat Liverpool that time in the FA Cup, and the player I was interested in was Costa, pacey winger. But he hasn't even hardly featured this season. They've been Jota, Jimenez, Traore's been coming on from the bench, so they've just been amazing, and built on that is a solid defence with Raul Patricio and goal experience, and then fantasy football. I think it's Doherty. He was so cheap, but he's just got so many points with clean sheets and goals. So they've just had a great season. I'm sure they'll just want to consolidate. If they can get seventh and obviously get to the FA Cup final, that will be an amazing achievement for them. So kind of all to play for from 10th to 7th to kind of get into that 7th spot, especially with Watford and Wolves potentially coming sidetracked. So it's kind of all to play for there. Um, so now we look at the top six. So obviously it's been split down to um, Chelsea, Man U, Arsenal, Tottenham to kind of get that top four spot, and it's really been interesting because at the start of the season I'm sure Chelsea would have been a shoe-in, Tottenham would have been a shoe-in. We'll get onto Tottenham later, but Chelsea have just had poor season. Obviously, we know what happened with the goalkeeper refusing to come off. Obviously, Hazard's going to leave. We know that's going to happen. He's got 1 year left. Lost the goalkeeper at the start of the season, and they lost Morata. They weren't really scoring goals. They have not really had a striker this season, and that's kind of reflected in, if we look at their goals scored, 50 goals. If you compare that with everybody else in the top six, that's the lowest. So that's clearly where their problems have lied. So they're still within it. They're still big bad loss to Everton. They picked up some momentum after the whole Carabao Cup incident, and then they beat Tottenham, but they're really out of sorts. And it looks like the manager's going to survive the international break. There's probably no one else to bring in. So uh, yeah, they just need to get top four, and obviously they're still in the Europa League, so they've got an easy draw in the Europa League. So that's obviously another avenue for them. But Champions League is their priority, whether it's from the league or the Europa League, we don't know. Obviously, if they get to the semi-finals of the Europa League and get another nice draw, all teams are beatable for them in the Europa League, so they might just turn their attention to that and forget about the top four. But they're not. They're still within it, but they just need to. Had they been Everton, they would have been top four. So Well, they would have been out on goal difference, but joint with Arsenal. Man U, obviously, they brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Mourinho was doing a poor job, and had they kept Mourinho, they probably would have been 10th right now. But they brought in Solskjaer. He went on an amazing unbeaten run and kind of put them back into Champions League contention, which nobody would have thought of at the start of the season. They're still in Champions League. They've got Barcelona. It's not the Barcelona of old, but it's still Barcelona. It's still going to be a tough one for them. They were on the brink of going out against PSG, and they pulled that from the brink. So maybe they can put it out against Barca. But realistically, they'll be trying to see if they can secure a top four finish to get back in that Champions League, and it's well within them. They lost their last game, had a little blip against Arsenal when they were in the rise, coming off that big comeback against PSG, and Arsenal were kind of on a bit of a downslope because Adebayo missed that pen. I mean, not Adebayo, sorry. Aubameyang missed that penalty against Tottenham, so they were kind of like in a bit of a downslope, and that can happen in football. But Arsenal won, and Arsenal are top four. So Man U will just be trying. They've got some interesting fixtures. They've got basically Chelsea at home and Man City at home, and as a Liverpool supporter, I need them to kind of beat Man City. So they've got it within them to get that top four. Arsenal, if you'd asked me at the start of the season, could Arsenal get the top four? I would have said absolutely not. You know, um, I thought that they weren't going to get the top four, but they've done. Look at they're unbeaten in the last 5 games. They lost. They weren't good at the start of the season. Went on this big run. Then they were kind of poor, and then they've gone on another run. Beat Man U, drew with Tottenham away. So they've pulled it out the bag, and their fixtures. They've got the easiest fixtures out of everyone. They haven't got any top teams left, but they've got some tricky away days against like the likes of Watford, Wolves, and Everton. And Arsenal have never really been good away. So and those kind of they lost to Watford in the last season. It was 2-3-1, 2-1. I think the last minute goal. So those are the kind of Wolves have been playing amazing. So those are the kind of games they didn't tend to slip up, but well within their grasp to get top four. And obviously they're still in Europa League. Hard tie against Napoli, especially at Napoli's ground. Napoli at their ground, virtually they're just a different team. So that will be a hard fixture, but well within their grasp. And obviously extra motivation is the fact that Tottenham have been sucked into it. So they have a chance to get higher than Tottenham. Now, if we see here, Tottenham, I don't know what has happened to Tottenham. Tottenham, they were doing good at the start of the season. They were kind of on the cusp of, challenging for the title. Then Harry Kane got injured. Then everybody was like, well, they're not going to win the title now because they haven't got anyone else. They got Llorente to bring in. They did bring Llorente in, but he wasn't really doing that good. But then Son came back early from the Asia Cup or whatever cup it was, and then he kind of slotted up top with Llorente, and it gave them that added dimension. And Son was scoring so many goals, and they were winning all them games when Harry Kane. I think they lost one game, which was at home to Burnley, 3-1, which just came out of the blue. But they were winning all the games without Harry Kane. Definitely in contention, outside chance of winning the league. Then Harry Kane comes back, and they've lost 3 and drawn once since. So that's just, and they will basically should have lost to Arsenal because the Arsenal was the last minute penalty. So that could have been 4 losses in a row. And apart from Arsenal, they haven't played anyone particularly hard. So that they've been sucked into now the top 4. And Chelsea are only 4 points behind them. So they really need to come back from this international break and suck up their ideas. I do think they'll do it ultimately. They've got tough. The only games they've got Liverpool next, so that's tough, and then they've got Man City next, and the Man City soon another away game. So they're in it now. So they're fully dragged into this top 4 race now to get in the Champions League, which I'm sure they wouldn't have wanted to be in. And obviously they've got a hard tie against Man City in the Champions League. So yeah, they're fully in it now. And obviously top 2, Liverpool and Man City. It's been an emotional one this year. Obviously we started Man City. Man City are obviously the better. Well, they were saying they're one of the greatest teams ever. They've got so much depth. They've had basically the whole season without De Bruyne, which is amazing because he's like their best player, him and Aguero. So that's amazing. But they've got Sterling, Sane, Aguero, Jesus. The defense company's rarely playing, but the other defenders have stepped up. Apart from that defensive midfielder position, where if they lose Fernandinho, they're a bit short, and left back where they've lost Mendy and Delph and the other guy not great. They are kind of got such a good team, and they're fighting on all four fronts. Now it has to be noted that in the Carabao Cup they had a very easy run, apart from the final when they fought Chelsea. In the FA Cup they've had a very easy run. They haven't really faced anyone of note, and then obviously they could have potentially got Man U, but Man U went out, and now they've got Brighton. So again, they've had a kind of easy run. Champions League so far, they've had kind of an easy run. Schalke in the last round, the group stage was quite easy. So they've actually had a quite easy run, and they had a blip in December when they had those two back-to-back losses, which kind of put Liverpool into the ascendancy. And then they beat Liverpool. It would have been 10 points. Then they beat Liverpool to get to 4 points, and then it seemed like they were going to get back on their stroll. Then they surprisingly lost to Newcastle. And Liverpool playing the next day. And Liverpool could again gone 7 points, but then Liverpool flopped against Leicester, which was shocking. And then ever since then, they've kind of they've just gone on a run. They've just gone on a run, an amazing run. I don't know. I think they probably won all their games. I don't even know. They've just gone on this amazing run, and obviously they overtook Liverpool. Now they've got a game in hand, which is against Man U. But they've got a lot of momentum right now. So the only thing for them is obviously they're trying to do the quadruple, and obviously yes, they've got an easy fixture in the Champions League. Well, I don't know, Tottenham are not easy, so let's not say that. But it's going to be tough for them. They'll want to win the Champions League, which obviously Guardiola's a winner, so he'll want to win everything. But they haven't won the Champions League, so and to create a dynasty, you need to win the Champions League. So potentially they might get a bit sidetracked, but they're looking in top form right now. Liverpool, yeah, it's been a bit funny season for Liverpool. Obviously, not in contention to do the quadruple. We went out of the Carabao Cup. We faced Chelsea. Unfortunately, lost. There was a home tie. Could have gone through. We lost. Then we went out to Wolves. We had to put a second string on because we had a few hard games before that. Champions League done relatively well. Beat Bayern Munich. We had the toughest draw last match, and now we've got one of the easiest ones, Porto. But the league is where as a Liverpool fan, you want to see us winning. We've had basically 3 opportunities this year to kind of go clear. The first one was when Man City had a blip around Christmas time, lost those 2 games, and then we played them. If we had gone there and got a victory, we'd have been 10 points ahead, even a draw. But we lost. Then the second one was when they lost to Newcastle, shock result because Newcastle were like bottom of the league at that time, or somewhere near the bottom. And then we played Leicester and at home as well. And Leicester manager got fired, and we drew. And ever since then, it's kind of just been a blip, stuttering performances away. We played Everton, didn't really go attacking, and it's kind of a line because we dropped Shaqiri from the team, and since we dropped him, there's been no attacking intent away, and obviously Salah just hasn't been firing, but Mane's been on fire, and defensively we've still been kind of solid with Van Dijk. We have made some blips at home, but we've managed to pull it out of the bag. So last game was kind of crucial for us to go to Fulham, who are second from bottom, and kind of get a victory and go into that international period ahead. Obviously, we played the game more, but kind of that's that psychological, kind of get some momentum behind us, which we really needed. So in the third one was Man U. We went into the Man U game aiming for a draw, but then Man U had an injury. So 3 injuries in the first half. Used all the subs, and Rashford was playing with was half dead. So that was really kind of a game where we could have won, but we didn't. And there's still all to play for Liverpool, man. We've got Tottenham and Chelsea at home. That's our hardest fixtures. So if we can beat, we can potentially, we're gonna have to. It's basically we need to win all our games, and we have to hold Man City slip. So I've still got faith. I think Liverpool prefer being underdogs as well. I don't think we're good when obviously we're ahead of the league, but we do prefer kind of being from the back. And at the start of the season, I always was saying that if Liverpool can just go into the last 5 games of the season with like just 4 points behind, I think that would be amazing. And if Man City win their game in hand, we're only going to be 1 point behind going into the last. Well, depending on if we can beat Tottenham next, and and so forth. But you know, I think we're still in there with a shout, and maybe less pressure. You know, Man City going for the quadruple might that get to them. But yeah, man, it's all to play for, and yeah, cool. Thank you guys. See if I can try and get out of this. Yeah, thank you. Look at my channel, and yeah, subscribe in the bottom right hand corner for the best in football and boxing. Thanks.